Greetings, metalheads, and welcome to No Nonsense Metal Reviews. I'm George, and I'm back again, yet again, with another today's pick, another pick of the day album, which ended up being a pick of the day, which is essentially just my wild card program here on the channel. But essentially, this became a today's pick because it's been out for a little bit too long to be a new release, but also it's such a good album, I couldn't not talk about it. So today's pick is none other than the most recent Deicide full length. This is Banished by Sin. Freaking brilliant album. Been out since around April time, I think. It comes to mind, April 2024. So it's been out for a few months now. Didn't actually get hold of a copy initially, owing to the age-old struggle of it being way too expensive and remaining at a very high price for quite a long time. Certainly here in the UK, where for reasons that I cannot be bothered to discuss right now, everything seems to be ridiculously expensive. Certainly trying to get hold of physical copies of music these days, but that's for another time. Finally, the price dipped a little bit and I was able to pick up a copy of this absolute beast of an album. Deicide, one of the legendary, all-important pioneers of Florida death metal. A band that I absolutely love, and a band that hold a very important, dear spot in the hearts of many a death metal fan all around the world. And I have to admit, I was really tempted to just get this album when it came out for however many ridiculous pounds it was, but I decided to resist, and I'm glad that I did wait, because there was a lot of very positive press about this album when it came out. I read a few articles, such as in the Fistful of Metal magazine, read a few reviews where people were giving this album a lot of love. And the interviews with Glenn Benton, bassist, vocalist, all-round legend and frontman, madman in fact. Those interviews with Glenn, he was given a very, very positive kind of outlook on the album. The press was loving it. The reviews were looking good. In a way, I felt even more compelled to pick up a copy because of that. But I resisted, and the clamour died down a little bit. We've had a few other prominent releases this year, but even so, this has stood up really, really freaking well. And this really is a top-notch album. Still hearing really positive things about it. Of course, we're coming up towards the end of 2024 now. It's coming up to that crucial time where people are, channels, magazines are compiling their best of 2024 albums list, and I'm hearing a lot of talk about this album. Don't doubt this is going to feature highly in a lot of lists. Interestingly though, this album has come about following some internal changes within Deicide's lineup, changes within the world. Of course, it's been 6 years since the previous album, that very tepid response that Overtures of Blasphemy received all those years ago. It's been a long time. And this album, I will also admit, I was quite underwhelmed by it. I think it's got a cracking album cover. I've always thought that's a brilliant cover. And there's a few choice tracks on here that I think are pretty strong, but the whole sound of this album, it's very, very thin. It's very, I don't know, underwhelming. So I was decidedly underwhelmed by that. However, I have read a few reviews of Banished by Sin, and people have said that their more recent albums, or latter albums, have all kind of consistently been underwhelming or disappointing. I would disagree. I'd say In the Minds of Evil was a solid album. I'd say that's a pretty strong effort. It's very heavy. I enjoyed it. I even thought To Hell With God was a good album as well, but neither of those albums are anything. They're not a patch on the sheer brilliance of Banished by Sin. So there's also some controversy about the album cover, being that it's got AI generation in there. I don't know where I really stand on the AI artwork debate. I don't really care hugely. However, I do appreciate, proper authentic art produced by artists is, that's next level stuff. But hey, that's a discussion for another time. Just focusing on this absolute beast of an album. This is short and sweet, less than 40 minutes, about 10 or 11 tracks, I think. No, maybe more than that, about 12. Absolutely pummeling death metal. Really does take you right back to those earlier albums such as Once Upon the Cross, Legion, self-titled debut. That real intense, pummeling Deicide, Florida death metal. Absolutely staggering. It kicks off with an absolute beast of an opener, From Unknown Heights You Shall Fall, which is utterly relentless. It's a really strong opening statement there. We get some crushing riffs. We are being absolutely just bulldozed by the drumming. That bass is thunderous, and Glenn, with his demonic, bestial vocals, he is shouting you down into a quivering mess in the corner. A truly powerful opening track into Doomed to Die, which it takes me right back to Dead by Dawn, or one of those very short and sweet, very punchy tracks from the first few albums. Sever the Tongue, evil, unrelenting, of course, absolutely pummeling, but it's brilliant. Then we get some more absolutely cracking tracks. Faithless has a little bit of an interesting kind of edge to it, in that it's not quite so utterly pummeling, but it's got a few more kind of melodic elements in there as well. Maybe melodic's not quite the right word, but seriously good stuff. Bury the Cross with Your Christ is heretical and brilliant. Absolutely love it. Ritual, nearly overlooked the rather excellent Woke from God, which I think it does have some more sort of melodic death metal vibes there. A little bit less kind of brutal, maybe a bit more mid-tempo, but seriously strong. Ritual Defied, brilliant, absolutely freaking love it. As is Failures of Your Dying Lord. Proper Deicide. Takes you right back to the earlier years, definitely. Real old school Deicide vibe there. And that kind of old school Deicide vibe continues throughout the rest of the album. Banished by Sin is a really worthy title track. It's furious. There's some very catchy, very memorable riff work here. Just across the band. Very good musicianship. Some seriously delicious riffs in there. A Trinity of None is brilliant. I Am I, A Curse of Death is a bit of an album standout in my opinion. And then we get the closing track, The Light Defeated, which is again takes us straight back to that early era. It's absolutely fantastic. Short and sweet. The album has a pretty seamless kind of flow to it, yet good distinction between tracks. So it's not just a blur, not just a torrent of death metal. It is a torrent of death metal, but there's distinctive breaks in there. So I mentioned the lineup here. So this is our rejuvenated and powerful lineup, consisting of Kevin and Taylor on guitars, both prominent figures within the death metal world or the extreme metal world, played and been part of many bands. Then we've got the legendary Steve Ashheim on drums and the masterful Glenn Benton on vocals. Solid lineup. In terms of production of the album, I think the production is brilliant. It sounds really good. So it's actually produced by Deicide, but it's mixed and mastered by Josh Wilbur, a very, very prominent name in the scene. And, he's got a good thing going there. It's absolutely brilliant sound-wise. Really strong. I think that's one of the things that you really notice from the start, is that where an album like Overtures of Blasphemy, where that sounds quite thin in places, this album sounds thick. It sounds prominent. Everything's distinguishable. The riffs are thick and heavy, bass is thunderous, drums are pummeling. Absolutely brilliant. Real distinction there. Overall, I would say that this is a solid album. It's one of the best Deicide albums for a lot of years by far. Seriously top-notch, high-quality death metal. Nothing that is any sort of remote filler. It's all just freaking killer. Tracks to check out if you need convincing. From Unknown Heights You Shall Fall, Doomed to Die, I would say Bury the Cross with Your Christ, and Banished by Sin. Merciless start to finish. Deicide, true death metal legends. This is, as I say, easily one of the strongest albums that I've heard from Deicide in a long time, and that seems to unanimously be the feeling, the vibe throughout the death metal fandom world. So my friends, what are your thoughts and opinions on Deicide in 2024 with the excellent Banished by Sin? What are your thoughts and opinions on this album? Very interested to hear what you think of this one. Are you loving it? Are you hating it? What do you think about the last few albums? Very interested to hear, again, thoughts and opinions of others on that. Thanks for watching, my friends. Hope you've enjoyed the review. Please do feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment. Support is very much appreciated. Do check back soon for more reviews and recommendations of all the good heavy things. Until next time, take care of yourselves, listen to Deicide, and stay freaking heavy.